Good morning everyone and welcome back to your biology practical class. So today we will be first performing some spotting part and after that we will be doing one major practical. Okay. So first I will be discussing about the spotting part. So let me tell you from the syllabus that what is written. So first spotting is the flowers adapted to pollination by different agencies, wind, insects and birds. So today I will be discussing about this practical first, and after that I am going to discuss the TS of blastula through permanent slides, that means mammalian. Okay, first these two observation part I will be discussing, and after that I will be discussing the isolation of the DNA, which one is your major practical. Now, what is the first one? That is study of adaptation of flowers for pollination. You know that what is the meaning of the pollination? Pollination means transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of the same flower or the different flower. Okay, so according to that, pollination can also be divided into self-pollination or cross-pollination. So what are the two conditions? The transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma will be within the same flower of the same plant or different flower of the same plant, and the another situation is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to stigma of the different plants, and according to the situation they are named as differently. You have read all these parts in the theory portion. Generally they are called as self fertilization and cross fertilization, and we will be getting some subdivision under this, right? So you know that what is the objectives of this particular practical. Now let me tell you about the requirements. So for that we need some fresh flowers of maize or any other cereals or grass. We need salvia flower, we need mustard flower which is called as brassica, and we need some hand lens, slide, needle, etc. Why? Let me tell you the procedure. So what is the procedure for this particular practical? I will be providing you all those flowers which will be showing the different types of the pollination by different pollinating agents, and you will be observing it with the help of the hand lens, and you will write it down the main characteristics on your copy, and you will draw the diagram. Okay, so this is the procedure. Now first let me tell you that for pollination there are some agents which are helping in the pollination. So who are those agents? Those agents are called as, those agents may be some biotic factors or abiotic factors. You know that biotic factor means living, that means it may be snail, animal, bird, insects, right? And some abiotic factors, that means some non-living agents are there like wind, water, etc. Okay, so by this type of the agencies pollination can take place in the different types of the plant. But here we will be talking about three different types mainly. One will be coming under the wind pollinated flower, another one will be insect pollinated flower, and the third one will be bird pollinated flower. Okay, so we will be checking that what are the different main criteria that we will be getting in these three types of the flowers. Just a minute. So first let me tell you the flowers, about the flowers. First let me tell you about the flowers which is anemophilous. Anemophilous means wind pollinated flowers. When pollination can take place by the help of the wind current, these are called as anemophilous flowers. And what will be the different criteria that can be found in this type of particular flowers? Let me tell you. And what will be the example? A very common example of wind pollinated flower is the maize. Now what adaptation we will be getting in this type of wind pollinated flowers? First one is the you know that maize plants are monoecious, right? And that means they are bearing by unisexual flowers. That means male flowers are born in the terminal inflorescence, while female flowers are born on axillary inflorescence. Okay, so the flowers which need the pollens which need to fly through the wind current, they must be lightweighted, right? They must be small and inconspicuous, because if it is large size, it will not be able to fly through the wind current. So that is why flowers will be very small and inconspicuous, and there is no need of attraction. So that is why for attracting we are using the color, we are using the different nectars, odor, but as they are pollinated by the wind, so which one is the abiotic factor? That is small one, which is the abiotic factor. So for that one, flowers will be colorless and odorless and nectarless, because nectar is the reward for that particular insect or the bird who are coming to that particular flower. But as it is the abiotic factor, so we don't no need of having this type of attracting agents. Now the next one is the flowers are produced above the above sorry so flowers are mainly placed in the hanging position, so that it can be passed through the wind current very easily. Okay, and both anthers and stigmas will get exposed, because so that they can the pollen can be passed through the wind current very easily, and the number of the pollen grains for that particular flower will be very large in number, because maximum there is a chance factor as it is transferred by the wind. So if they produce very small amount, then it may not pollinate. That is why the number must be in very large number, and stigma must be hairy for capturing the pollen. Okay, stigma must be hairy, feathery or branched to catch the pollen grains. Okay, so these are the general characteristics that can be flowers in the which are adapted by the pollination, adapted for the pollination by the wind. Okay, so a very common example is the maize. So you need to draw the diagram of the maize on the left side white page. Okay, and next one, the flower which can be pollinated by the insect. That means next one I am going to tell you about the insect pollinated flowers. So the flowers which are pollinated by the insect are called as entomophilous, which are called as entomophilous. Okay, so a very common example of entomophilous flower is the salvia. Salvia. Okay, so what criteria they will be having? Obviously the insects will be coming for getting a reward. So what will be their reward? And insects must be attracted by some colors. If a flower is dull colored and if a flower is bright color, obviously an insect will be able to see the bright color, and they will be attracted by the bright colored flower, or a very smelly good odor, they will attract them, and if they get the nectar as a reward after coming to that flower, they will come again and again. So obviously the first criteria of this type of flower will be flowers are very sweet. That means they will be brightly colored for attracting the pollinating insects. Okay, and the flowers will be conspicuous. That means they must be large size so that they can see it very easily, and flowers will be secreting the nectar to feed visiting the insects. Okay, that means the nectars will be their reward. Okay, so nectar glands are placed in such a position that the insect must touch both the anthers and the stigmas. Okay, and the flowers must have the landing position so that they can sit on the flower properly. So insect can come and sit on the flower. For that they need a landing position. So this type of flowers must have a proper landing position. Okay, and the flowers these are the main criteria. You can say that there are some other criteria also, that maybe as the insect moves inward to the young flower in search of nectar, its head pushes and the anther plates and forces the fertile anther lobes to strike against the back. That means according to their movement, sometimes pollen grains are attacking their different parts of the body like wings, legs, and they are carrying to the another flower and pollination is taking place. Okay, so these are the main criteria that can be found in the entomophilous flower, and a very common example is the salvia. Now coming to the last type, that is pollination that can be done by the birds. Okay, that means bird pollinated flowers, which are called as ornithophilous, and Bignonia is a very common example of the bird pollinated flower. So the flowers, this Bignonia type of the flower, will be showing particular adaptations. So what are the different adaptive features that can be found in this type of flowers? So obviously for them also attraction is needed for the birds. So obviously the flowers will be brightly colored. It may be red colored, it may be orange colored, because you know red, orange, these colors are quite attractive for the birds. Okay, and the floral parts are commonly leathery. They will be showing leathery type of appearance, the floral parts, and in some cases the corolla part is also maybe leathery, and thus they are also secreting the abundant amount of watery nectar, or they are having some edible parts which birds would like to take as their food. So this one will be acting as a reward. So if one first time they are coming to that particular flower and they are getting a reward, so next time they will wish to visit this flower again and again. So this is the reason that the flowers are getting attracted, the birds are getting attracted by this type of particular flowers. Okay, and the flowers are generally, fragrance part is not having too much role in this type of flower. So we can say that flowers are generally odorless or without fragrances, which is needed for the insect pollinated flower. Okay, so these are the main adaptive features that can be found in the flowers which will be pollinated by the birds. So what you will be going to do, every information, the criteria we will be getting from your book. So on the right side rule page you will be writing the characteristics. That means first you will be making the heading like insect pollinated flower or wind pollinated flower or bird pollinated flower, then write down its characteristics and give one example of each type of, and on the left side white page you will be drawing the diagrams of each one. Okay, so this is the first spotting which will be coming in your term 1 examination. Okay, so in this portion, as these parts are already there in your theory syllabus, so in your viva questions will be asked from both theory and practicals. Okay, so the questions may be like this: what is pollination, what are the different type of the pollination that can be found, what is autogamy, what is xenogamy, what is geitonogamy, cleistogamy. Okay, I think you are getting remembering all of this, because all this I have discussed in the theory class. So please, whenever you will be appearing for your practical examination, read that particular chapter from the theory book also, because in the viva questions will be asked from that part. So this one is your first spotting part. So now you may ask me, ma'am, what will be the sequence which will be following for writing the practicals? I will be telling that follow the sequence what is given in your syllabus. Okay, that means first you will be writing the pollination, then isolation of DNA, and after that you will be starting to write down the spotting or observation part. First spotting will be this one which I have discussed today. Then you can write down the testis and ovary which I have already discussed, and after that you can write down the blastula part, and then Then you can add the meiosis part, which I will be showing you in the next class, and at the end you will be writing the pedigree part. Pedigree part also I have discussed in the theory class, but I will be telling you what are the different parts. You have to write it down in your copy. Okay. So now let me tell you today the another practical, that is the blastula. Okay. So now you have got the idea about the testis and ovary. So after that you need to know about the blastula also. Just a minute. What PDF? I have told you na from which book you have to write down all the practicals. Just follow that book. I will not send any PDF, and already discussed about the syllabus also. Still it is also provided in the chat box. The PDF of the syllabus, if you are asking, it is already provided in the chat box. Okay. So now next experiment is the study of the blastula. So as you know that this is the microscopic one, so I will be taking the picture from the microscope and I will send it to you. So when blastula, what is the blastula stage, when we are getting this stage, everything you should know. So you can remember that from the male gamete we will be getting from the male they will be having gonads, and from where we will be getting male gametes, that is sperm, and from the female body we will be getting the egg and ovum, right, which is called as female gamete. So what is happening, male gametes are having tails, so they can move, but female gametes are not movable. So the after the copulation, the male gametes, that is sperms, are getting inserted through the vagina into the female body, and the sperms are passed to the site of the fertilization, that is ampuloisthmatic region of the fallopian tube. Their eggs will be coming from the ovary, and on that particular site the fertilization of the egg and sperm will be taking place. So up to that portion you know, I have discussed in your practical. But what will happen after the fertilization? So after the fertilization they will start dividing. They will start dividing repeatedly, and this is called as cleavage. Okay, so by this process of cleavage there will be series of successive changes that will be taking place by the mitotic type of the division, and it will transfer a single cell zygote. So after the fertilization we will be getting diploid structure, which is one cell stage, and it is called as zygote, and zygote will start to divide mitotically and they will form a structure which is called as blastula or blastocyst. Okay, blastula or blastocyst, and they will form, and ultimately it will again divide and they will form a solid mass ball like structure which is called as morula. Okay, as that means at the next stage of the development which will produce the embryo with about 64 cells called blastula. So you need to know the main features that can be found in the blastula stage. How you will be able to differentiate the blastula with the another stage which is called as morula. Okay, so what is the requirement for that practical? So the requirement is the microscope, the permanent slide of the mammalian blastula, a rough copy, a pen and pencil. So what we will be doing, I will be setting the permanent slide of the blastula under the microscope. First I will be fixing it under the low power of microscope. If needed I can show you under the high power, but generally you will be able to find it out under the low power of microscope. Okay. Now first I will be fixing this slide under the microscope, then I will be telling you that please observe the slide what you are getting. So what will be the different observations done by you? So you will get to know that it will be a spherical mass like structure and it is having 64 cell stage. So mainly it will be having a spherical ball like mass like structure which are having 64 cell stage. So this is the important that you need to mention the number of the cells. Okay, so the 64 cell stage is the blastula. Now if you check the outer layer of that particular structure, you will be getting a structure which is called a strophoblast, or as it is outer layer I am saying, it is also having alternative name which is called a strophoectoderm, and in the inner portion you will be getting the inner cell mass. Okay, and there will be a fluid filled cavity. This one is also the diagnostic feature of the blastula. You will be getting a fluid filled cavity, and this is called as blastocele. Okay, this cavity, fluid filled cavity, is called as blastocele, and the site of the blastocele to which the inner cell mass, so there will be a inner cell mass, so in the where this inner cell mass will be attached, this will be called as embryonic or animal pole. That means this will get differentiated into some pole. So where inner cell mass is attached, it will be called as embryonic pole. Okay, while the opposite pole will be called as abembryonic pole. Okay, and what is that inner cell mass? Actually this inner cell mass is the precursor of the embryo. Okay, precursor of the embryo. So let me show you by a small diagram. I am drawing it here. So this type of ball like structure you will be getting. So here the cells will be attached, there will be cavity. So this one will be called as blastocele, and this portion is called as inner cell mass, and the outer layer will be called as trophoectoderm. Okay, so this is the rough diagram of the blastula stage. Okay, so after the fertilization, these type of morula blastula stages will be formed. So this was your next spotting, and what will be the precautions while you will be performing this practical. So obviously as you are handling with the microscope, you should take care about the microscope, and first fix the slide under the 10x power, then 45x. Not fix the slide under the high power of microscope from the beginning. Okay, so this is all about the two spotting or the observation part which I have discussed today. Okay, now two other topics are left from that observation part. I will be discussing about all them in the next class.